Good morning to all. Can someone confirm is my screen what I have shared is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for confirmation. I think volume is a bit low. Okay, fine. So in our previous class, we were discussing about the cumulative damage theories. The necessity of them comes to identify how much damage is occurred in a component with every cycle. And this theory becomes very useful whenever we have variable amplitude loading, not constant amplitude. Constant amplitude you can determine with every cycle how much damage is going to accumulate. And if not that, if you have variable amplitude or different load cycles, you have different magnitude loads you have, then you can predict with every type pattern how much damage is going to occur in a material. So there are various theories and 7 have been listed here. These are the most prominent which have been used in practice. And as far as numericals on this topic is concerned, as I said in the last class, the point 1 Palmgren minor hypothesis or linear damage rule, as well as point 7 Manson double linear rule. These two we will discuss about in our course, and we'll also see one of the non-linear type of cumulative damage theory, Markov-Starkey theory, where we can clearly identify the benefits over the linear theories, or for example Palmgren minor theory or the Manson double linear rule. So we can understand more input from non-linear theories and its advantage, drawback, all these I have discussed already in our previous class. Okay, so then we were talking about various parameters which we can consider in this damage accumulation, or to say some factor is required to tell how much damage is occurred, how to identify that or how to quantify that particular damage. So most often we see cycle ratio, and if it is a fracture mechanics based approach, we can also talk about the damage fraction in terms of the crack propagation for every cycle. These are the two most prominently used. About this also we have discussed in our previous class, and we were at the end, we were here in our previous class. So the parameter which we are going to use in our present discussion is the cycle ratio. Only this parameter we are going to address. And in the last chapter of this course, that is fatigue fracture or dynamic fracture, we talk about this crack length, critical parameter crack length, and its propagation. So LEFM, fourth chapter, what is the critical size of the crack? That way we are going to discuss. Whereas in case of fatigue fracture or dynamic fracture, we are going to talk about the crack propagation with respect to cycle. So present topic, we'll only restrict ourselves to the cycle ratio parameter or life fraction to calculate the damage, how much is occurring with every cycle. Other parameters do exist, we can consider several, but you can make a note. Continuous monitoring of these parameters could be quite difficult. When we say metallurgical parameter, you require sophisticated devices, maybe NDT techniques like X-ray methods, laser-based methods. These type of methods are required, and you have to identify what is the microstructure after every cycle, which becomes too tedious, and these devices are also very complex. Those devices cannot be implemented on practical component. You cannot mount the metallurgical parameter estimating device on the engine or on a running car or any such device, or maybe on a machine tools at the tool tip, or maybe on the workpiece which you are machining. We cannot use that. Every time to do the metallurgical analysis, you may have to prepare the samples in a particular way. So this becomes not much practical for the industrial scenario, but from research point of view, these metallurgical parameters play a vital role because that gives us the clear identification or indication what is the path crack is growing. For example, we are aware about intermediate intergranular as well as intragranular, two different type of crack propagation. Then how the microstructure prevents that, which path it takes, all those parameters, why it only propagates in that particular direction, why not in the another direction. So these understanding we can obtain from the metallurgical parameter, and we may think about strengthening the microstructural aspects. So strengthening the material in that particular point of view. So research point of view, metallurgical parameter may be most useful to arrive at a final design during the design cycle. But during the actual practice, it becomes very difficult to implement these parameters. Similarly, mechanical behavior, if you want to predict, this is also most often restricted to laboratory conditions or periodic maintenance parameter, we can say. So you have a component which is subjected to certain thermal cyclic load, and you know, with the temperature, the materials do change their properties, and with that cyclic load, maybe hardness could vary in the material, residual stresses in the material may vary. For example, we say compressive residual stress, if at all it is there in the design component, especially at the location of stress concentrated region, then it is favorable provided the application is tensile in nature. But what happens over the time period with the applied cyclic load, and if temperature is there, it further fastens up. These residual stresses get relaxed over a time period. Therefore, maybe at regular interval, we may go and measure this particular residual stress values with the corresponding devices. The measuring devices are only very complex. The technique available, NDT technique available is XRD with the special attachments, or else we have destructive testing, either the bending method or hole drilling method, but it is a destructive. It will not serve the purpose in the practical scenario. So XRD method is the best one, but implementing in the practical scenario for continuous monitoring may not be a right option. Therefore, it has to be planned for certain interval duration. Okay, so that is the idea considering mechanical parameter. There are several parameters. You may consider that you may continuously, regularly monitor the hardness of the material, how it is changing, and thereby you may say after this much now it is going to fail. Whether it is increased or whether it is decreased, depending on that, you may predict now what could be the material failure behavior. Similarly, other physical measures are there. As I said, the NDT techniques. These are the methods used to quantify one of these previous parameter what we have discussed. Okay, so there is a possibility of considering various parameters. Now it is left to the designer, depending on what requirement he is going to plan and which parameter he want to address. Its feasibility of measuring that parameter becomes quite important, and with what accuracy or at what time period you want to measure, all these must be clearly stated by the designer when you are planning to use these type of metallurgical or mechanical related parameter for the damage quantification purpose. Next, let us look into the linear damage rule. So it is quite simple. The basic postulate of this I have already explained in the last class. You can see the damage fraction or damage accumulated is the ratio of small letter n by capital N. Now you have to be in a position to clearly distinguish what is small letter n, what is capital N. If you understand what is small letter n, what is capital N clearly, then nothing is there in this theory. It is straightforward, understood in a physical meaning. Okay. So what is capital N? Capital N is the total life a component going to give you when you apply a certain magnitude of load. For example, I'll write here in terms of values so that you can relate that. Example, if you apply load, let us say S1, you are applying maybe 250 Newton load you are applied. How much life you are going to get? How much life? That becomes the N1. If you apply 250 Newton alone on the component till it fails, then how many number of cycles you can apply? That is N1. That is the life of the component if you apply 250 Newton load. Similarly, now you apply S2, a little bit lesser than 250 Newton. Maybe you may assume 200 Newton load. Now what is the life you are going to get? That is N2. Okay. Similarly, if you apply some other magnitude S3, maybe 150 Newton, the life you are going to find is N3. The component is going to fail after N3 cycles. Maybe we'll write some value here also. For example, maybe here we'll take 10 to the power 4. This will take 10 to the power 5. Or 10 to the, let us see 10 to the power 3. This becomes easy. 10 to the power 4. 10 to the power 5, and let us take S4 also, maybe 100 Newton, and the life of the component total you can get 10 to the power 6 number of cycles. You consider the material to be steel in this particular case, maybe some medium carbon steels. Okay, this is the corresponding behavior. Now in your practical application, you are applying 250 Newton load, but not for 1000 cycles. You may apply for 500 cycles, or you may apply for 200 cycles. It is left to you, depending on the application. The application is such that the 250 Newton load is applied only for the 100 number of cycle. If you want to fail the component, you have to apply 250 Newton load 1000 number of times. But in practical application, you are applying only for the 100 number of cycle. Then component is not going to fail after applying 100 number of cycles of 250 Newton load. Component is going to fail only if you apply 1000 number of cycles of that particular load. Okay. So how many number of cycle you are applying? That is your, so practical case, applied number of cycle. Applied number of cycles, that is small letter n. That is small letter n. So you are applying the S1 magnitude 250 Newton only for, let us say, 100 cycle. You are applying only for 100 cycles. Okay. Now after applying 100 cycles, component, some damage will occur. How much is that damage? That you measure. That is measured by the ratio of this. So damage is equal to small letter n1 divided by capital N1. So here if you want to write, you have applied 100 cycles divided by 1000 cycles, where 1000 is the total number of cycles which are required for the component to fail when you apply 250 Newton load. Okay. Similarly, S2 magnitude, you have 200 Newton load. You are applying for N2 number of cycles. Maybe that N2 you consider 50 cycles. But if you apply 200 Newton till failure, you are going to get the life of somewhere around 10 to the power 4. Okay. So that you have to take now. Ratio of N2 by capital N2 here plus, now it is 50 by 10 to the power 4. Similarly, you apply S3 magnitude of load, maybe 150 Newton for N3 of maybe 500 cycles, or it is somewhere around more than 10 to the power 3. So let us say 5000 cycles. Okay, 5000 cycles. Then you take that ratio, 5000 by 10 to the power 5. Okay, N small letter N3 by capital N3. Similarly, at last you are going to apply some S4 magnitude 100 Newton load for N4, small letter N4 of maybe somewhere around 10 to the power 5 number of time cycles. Maybe you take somewhere around 90,000 or more than 1 lakh. Let us say 2,50,000 cycles. For example, you are applying 100 Newton load on the component, then that becomes your next parameter. So 2,50,000 divided by the corresponding value 10 to the power 6. Here it is small letter n4 by capital N5. You calculate what is the total value. If this calculated value is greater than 1, then component fails. Then component is going to fail. If this value, calculated value, is less than 1, then component is safe. That is the conclusion. You are taking the ratio. When you will get the unity, only when there is a particular damage. You can make that particular damage 1 even with the one particular magnitude of load only when you apply that number of corresponding number of cycles. So here what is the life is 10 to the power 3. This is the life for 10 to the power 5. This is the life, this is 10 to the power 4, 10 to the power 5 and 10 to the power 6. These are the life at the defined magnitudes, where you are applying only this much number of cycles, N1, N2, N3, N4. The practical application is such that only these number of cycles have been applied on the component. That means we are not crossed the SN diagram limit, we are into that limit. But some damage is there. How much damage? Now, linear damage rule gives you the summation. So it is in short form, if we want to write summation of Ni by Ni, where I is equal to 1 to N. How much number of cycles you want to apply, or what is the load pattern, how much number of load magnitude you want to give. Okay. So this damage should not be greater than 1. If it is, let us say, greater than or equal to 1, then the component is going to fail. This is the basic postulate of the linear damage rule. Now, as I have said in the last class, this is linear rule, but there is no guarantee that with every cycle material will accumulate the damage in a linear path. The damage may vary with every cycle. The first cycle might have induced the damage of 0.1. The next cycle, maybe of the same load, may not create a damage of 0.1. It might be less than that. It could be more than that. It is a material response to the applied load, depending on several factors. Okay. So that is the drawback of this particular theory, linear theory. Okay. Any doubts in this? What is the actually meaning of this linear theory? Okay. So here the same postulate has been written here for I number of cycles. Okay. So advantage of this theory is it is most simple. But as I explained in our previous class, see, influence of order of application, or in short form we say sequence effect. Sequence effect cannot be taken into this rule. Say for example, here only let us talk about that. Say I am applying some n number of cycles of this magnitude. Okay, some n1. Let us say this is S1 magnitude, S1 type of load. Then I am going to change the load pattern to some other form. Okay, and then some another type of loading may be there, maybe like this mean stress loading is applied for another number of cycles. If I change the sequence, this is a sequence 1, maybe S1 is there, that is enough. S1, S2 type and S3 type. Okay, if I change the sequence, instead of applying S1 first, so now the sequence is you apply for S1, then apply S2, then apply S3. This is the one sequence. During the application, for some reason, this sequence is not followed. Maybe S3 is applied first, and then S1 is applied, and then S2 is applied. Now, in both of these cases, though the load applied magnitude remains same, the material response or the damage occurred in the material is different. It is not same. Okay. Therefore, it is very important for us to account the sequence effect. Sequence, later we'll see about the application of having various type of loadings. Okay. So this thing cannot be predicted with the linear damage rule or Palmgren damage rule. This is one of the drawback, the sequence effect, because you can observe it is just a simple summation. You put n2 by n1 first, n2 by n2 first, and then add n1 by n1, and then n3 by n3, or any order you add, it is the value is same. That is the meaning of sequencing. Here sequencing effect is not observed. That is one of the major drawback, because in reality, depending on sequence, the damage occurred in the material would be different. This is the first thing you have to always remember when you use this theory. If your interest is there to predict in what way damage is occurring in the material with every type of loading, then this theory is not recommended. However, what is observed in the past, if the applied load magnitude in the high cycle fatigue regime, that means low load amplitudes, then the sequence effect, variation with the sequence effect is very less. And at that time, this theory will give you the good results. Okay. When compared to nonlinear theory, you use both and see the results are comparable. A minor variation could be there, very small. That is, if we are applying this theory in the high cycle fatigue regime, then, or in other words to say that low cycle fatigue regime we are using, then this theory is okay, appropriate. Okay. Then one more drawback of this theory is whatever the damage accumulated here is having no relation to the past history. So as I said, the sequence effect here, for example, in the first case, sequence 1, you have applied S1 first, then S2 and S3. But when you calculate damage for each load, it is individual. Okay. So when you apply the next pattern, S2, you have applied S1 and let us say you have incurred a damage of D1. When you apply the S2 pattern, you are applying that particular load over a component with the damage D1. But this theory is considering that you are applying the S2 pattern of load without the damage in the component. You know that there is some damage D1, but when you apply that particular load on the component with the damage, how it should behave, that prediction is not there. Individually, when you consider each load, it will give you some damage in the component, assuming component is fresh every time. It is not considering the fact that previous load is added some damage, and over that you are applying the next magnitude, then the material response may not be same. Okay. So this is one of the important factor to be noticed as a drawback from this theory. Okay. However, as I stated earlier, because of its simplicity and because of the closeness of the result in the high cycle fatigue regime, only in that particular region, these shortcomings can be overlooked. It may not be that much important in case of very high cycle fatigue regime. And when compared with the effort you have to put when you use nonlinear theory, more data is required, more material data and every pattern data. These data required are more to use those particular nonlinear theories. Considering that particular effort you have to put, and if you find only minor variation, then there is no meaning to go for those theories. That is the reason even till date this Palmgren minor theory has been used most widely. Despite its shortcomings, this is used most widely and it will quickly give you the details. So approximate assumption approximate idea if you want to get about the component behavior, then this theory would help you, okay, in doing that. Maybe during the raw design phase, initial phases of the design, as a first iteration, first trial, you can go with this. You have several components designed, several shapes, several designs you have with you for the same application. You want to try whether that design is going to sustain. Then for every design, if you use complex theories, it takes long time to come out with some solution. For a first approximation, use this theory, and then once you shortlist a few designs from your n number of alternatives, on that only you do the next more specific detailed analysis. This is a better way of practicing, and that is what industry follows. Okay. So it is important point to note, order in which you apply the stress levels on a component significantly affects the life of the part or component what you have designed. This, always you remember this point. Okay. In fatigue, it is not that easy to predict the life. It depending on several factors, and load sequence is one factor. Okay. I have shown you several parameters, some 14 parameters listed in the last class. In that, one is the sequence, how we apply the load. Okay. So remember this factor. This could be very critical in highly risk-based designs. If you are becoming tomorrow engineers in such company, then you have to keep this point in mind, and you have to plan this also. Okay. So next is a nonlinear theory. I think about nonlinear we'll discuss later. Anyways, you have understood the linear theory. Better we will look into the other aspect first. Nonlinear we'll take at the end. Next is another linear rule, but little bit additional component is there here. The damage calculation is in the same fashion. Damage total D is in the same fashion. Ratio summation of damages Ni by capital Ni, this small letter Ni, where here now we will differentiate this total into life required for crack initiation, and crack propagation. So Manson has taken advantage from the linear rule, basic postulate, and from there he has used this same linear rule to take the cycle ratios in two steps. One is cycle ratio to cause the crack initiation, that cycle ratio, and cycle ratio of the crack propagation time. This is what is Manson theory. It is still a linear theory. Why it is called double? Because for a applied load, for a type of load, we have a applied type of load, some type of load with some magnitude, another load with another type of fashion. Okay, some S1 magnitude, and let us say some S2 magnitude of load we are applying for N1 number of cycle and N2 number of cycle. Once you find crack is initiated, and then there is only propagation cycle. For example, one of the shortcoming of the previous rule, linear rule or Palmgren-Minor rule, it cannot predict what is the previous load effect. For instance, if you find after completion of S1 type of load, let us say crack is initiated. At the end of S1 type of load, crack is initiated. Then whatever you are applying S2 magnitude, you are a component with the crack. So whatever the damage is going to occur there on a component to propagate the crack. Okay. So Palmgren-Minor rule or the simple linear rule, it was not taking this into account. It was just calculating what is the damage you are going to accumulate on the component when you apply a given magnitude of load. To overcome this to some extent, Manson has provided a bifurcation between number of cycles required for the crack initiation and number of cycles required for the crack propagation. Okay. So once you identify crack is initiated, till then you use the same Palmgren-Minor linear rule. And once crack is initiated, now again it is linear rule only, but this linear rule will clearly depict between crack propagation time and number of cycles required for crack propagation and crack initiation. That is the only difference. That is why the rule is mentioned as double linear. Double linear means you are still using the same linear rule, Palmgren-Minor linear rule itself, but two times. Once for the crack initiation up to the time for crack initiation and then for the crack propagation. That is why the meaning double linear rule, and this rule has been proposed by Manson, therefore his name is attached with the rule. Very simple to keep in mind. Okay, straightforward, we have simple linear rule and double linear rule. With the persons who invented or provided these type of postulates, we give the name. The first theory is known to be the Palmgren-Minor's rule, and the other one who gave actually this crack propagation concept into or incorporated into the simple linear rule, that is Manson, and therefore this theory is known as Manson double linear rule. Okay. So according to Manson, with this lot of experiments what he has conducted, crack propagation life is given by this particular equation. Crack propagation life. Okay. You may note that this is analogous to our Baskin equation. Okay, but this is between the cycle to propagate in a total number of cycles to failure. How many cycles are for the crack propagation? So you have the Baskin equation at a defined stress value. You have material constant A, NF to the power B. Okay. So this NF what is what? It is a total life. So last time quiz which we conducted earlier, 20 questions, there this question was there. High cycle fatigue approach, the SN approach is what type of model? The answer was total life. Very few have been chosen this. There is no bifurcation of initiation and propagation is there. High cycle fatigue life SN approach is a total life model. We have discussed about various design philosophies in the first chapter. There we have three different type of models which you can use: total life model, propagation life model, and initiation life model. I have put a question mark in that particular slide during that class. Initiation life model, are there really exist, or if at all it is there, how we can consider which model we may assume as a propagation initiation model. Okay. So in this total life, what we find with the high cycle fatigue region, that means for low stressors, most of the cycles for crack initiation, and then remaining cycles are for the crack propagation. Once crack is initiated, then crack has to propagate. And it is known that in case of total life approach or high cycle fatigue life, approximately 90% of that cycles are going for crack initiation. Suppose you have found that for a defined stress value, let us take some amplitude 250 Newton, the component is going to give you life of 10 to the power 3 or 1000 cycle. In that case, 900 cycles approximately will go for the crack initiation, remaining 100 cycles will go for the crack propagation. Okay. So this distinction can be obtained by using this particular equation. If you know the total life, number of cycles to failure, then you can find out how many number of cycles went for the crack propagation. Then 1 minus or this NF minus NP will give you the initiation cycle. So NI, number of cycles for initiation, number of cycles for crack initiation. I will write here crack initiation. Number of cycles for crack initiation is nothing but the NF means total life. And this is altogether NP, number of cycles for crack propagation. difference. Okay. Now in this, what are these constant capital P and small letter p? See your notations are multiple times used with PP, but whatever P here written, this particular notation as a subscript, it is only for indication. Okay, it is not some value, it is only for the indication that number of cycles for crack propagation after crack has been initiated. It is not some dividing factor or something like that. It is just a indication. Whereas other side, in the right hand side of the equation, there is a capital P, which is a propagation coefficient. This need to be determined experimentally. Till date, the expression empirical relation is not available in the open domain. Maybe certain places it may be there, but too much exploration you have to do to search for that. Okay. So it is to be determined experimentally, and in the same way, the propagation exponent to be determined experimentally. Curve will come similar to that of the SN diagram. This is nothing but the crack propagation curve. With every cycle, how the crack is propagating. That curve, if you plot, the slope of the curve is the small letter p here. Propagation exponent, slope of the curve. The rate of which crack is propagating. And other one is the position or the stress value which is required to cause that particular propagation, P, or the propagation coefficient. The curve is similar to SN diagram, a non-linear curve you will get. Okay. So for most often, we have the data for steel by the extensive experiment from Manson, and he has indicated that this propagation coefficient for a steel material is 14 and propagation exponent is 0.6. Okay. It may vary depending on type of steel. It is not a particular fixed value, but we may roughly assume these values for our initial calculation, as we do not have data of all other material. So please remember this particular values, small letter p and capital 14 given by the Manson. Okay. It is obtained for steel material. In the total absence of data, the same value will use for the aluminum and copper alloys also. Though the material may not behave actually in this particular fashion, if you want the exact, you go for the experiment and determine that particular parameter and then use the equation. Okay. So there is actually scarcity of the data pertaining to this particular parameter. So this opens up one more research domain. If you want to go ahead into this particular area, you may look for various aspects related to this, how to perform the test, and then try to generate the data for various materials and etc., which may be helpful for the others, okay, in the future. So by using those constant, if you replace the theory equation, this was capital P and 0.6 is the small letter p and capital P. Okay. So equation would be 14NF 0.6. But there is one clause when we can take this particular crack propagation term. Only if the total number of cycles are greater than 730, then only you can use this particular equation. If the number of cycles, total number of cycles are less than 730 or equal to 730, then whatever number of cycles are there are only propagation life. You have to by default assume NP as 730. What does this mean? This indicates that for low cycle fatigue regime, in SN diagram, Ne or 10 to the power 6 for steel, you can consider log life, alternating stress SA. This is 10 to the power 3. So where we say high cycle fatigue regime greater than this HCF, low cycle fatigue regime, okay. 730 is somewhere close to 1000, somewhere here on a logarithmic scale, it is very close to 1000, somewhere here. So this is your 730 number of cycles. Okay. If the component has to fail within 730 cycles for steel material. So what discussions we are having? All for the steel material in this case, because these constant 14 and 0.6 are for steel. If at all component has to fail less than 730 cycles, that means what? You have to apply high magnitude of load. Let us say somewhere around 300 Newton. Okay. Then the meaning is when you apply the first cycle of 300 Newton itself, there has been crack initiated or there is already crack. The moment you apply 300 Newton means it is well above the yield load. Well above the yield load. That means the moment you apply the first cycle, crack has been initiated. There is a crack. So whatever number of cycles are there are only for the crack propagation. Therefore, using the previous formula, this formula is not valid. Experimentally, it has been understood that in low cycle fatigue regime, most often there is only crack propagation. 730 could be some average value. In general, to be specific, we consider 10 to the power 3. That is why we assume 10 to the power 3 as the cutoff value. Any component, if you find failing with less than 1000 number of cycle, that means you are operating or you are applying high stress on the particular component, somewhere close to the yield. Empirically, what is this 10 to the power 3 point? 0.9 times of the ultimate strength. 0.9 times of the ultimate strength. Then what is the yield point of the material? Yield point of the material is still lesser, no? Approximately it is that point only, 0.9 times of the ultimate. If you want to find out yield by empirical method, that yield point is somewhere around 0.9 SU or less than that. Actually, it is less than that. Okay, less than or equal to 0.9 SU. So if you operate the component at a stress value near the yield, that means yield means there is a plastic behavior. Plastic behavior means there is already crack is initiated. Then only plasticity, component will not regain its original shape and size. So beyond elastic limit, even in the partially elastic region, beyond elastic limit, there is some problem. That means even if I consider somewhere around 10 to the power 4 number of cycles also, 10 to the power 4 number of cycles also, in this region also using high cycle fatigue approach or SN approach is not that much recommended. This we know now with the well available data now. But as a classic theory or what you find in most of the textbook, 10 to the power 3 people consider that. Okay. So SN approach, that is why, is only a approximate solution providing theory when operated within the limit. Only for the initial approximation you have to use high cycle fatigue approach, and you should not use this theory as your final design calculation. That is why the next theory comes up, that is strain life approach. Strain life approach is known to be much accurate and much better. In the quiz last time we had, in that there was a question even about this. SN approach can give approximate solutions, exact solutions, or much better solution. All those options were there. It is straightforward. High cycle fatigue approach is only valid in particular region, and its solution becomes more and more accurate as you reduce the stress. As you reduce the stress means you are going towards the high cycle, more and more high cycle of life. It is not an accurate theory because its postulation do not have provision for the plasticity in the material. Its postulation is only elasticity. Baskin equation is only considering the elastic nature of the material. As far as, rather than going with this 10 to the power 3 to 10 to the power 6 term to say high cycle fatigue regime, the better way I am telling about, or I am always considering, is to talk about in respect to materials proportionality limit or elastic limit. Rather than saying 10 to the power 3, the better way is to tell about the material is, if you operate the material or component what you design less than the elastic limit load, then high cycle fatigue life approach, SN approach, can give you approximately acceptable result. Approximately, it is not a better accurate process. It will give you approximately reasonable result. If your stress values are further and further smaller, much maybe half of the elastic limit value, then high cycle fatigue you can rely on. You need not worry much. Okay. If not, because as a designer, what we want to make best use of the given material. As a designer, that is what we require. Just to keep that load low, you cannot make the geometry 10 times greater than what is actually required. Your factor of safety cannot be more. Then you have your competitors. Other industry will overtake you. That is not permitted. So as a designer, we are working on a two swords. We are working on a blade of two swords. As a designer, you have to, if you balance here, you will take hit from there. If you try to balance there, you will take hit from another side. So you have to be more cautious and go on balancing both sides. It becomes very difficult. So we have to reduce the cost. We have to make the component smaller and smaller. We have to make the component just for the cause it is designed for. And meanwhile, we have to ensure highest possible life. Then high cycle fatigue approach is not a suitable one. SN approach is not that much great applicable, and low cycle fatigue approach can give you better understanding or better control over the phenomena. This is known now with the recent developments, but you know that time frame. SN approach was built in 18th century, 1820, 1920. Euler proposed the Versailles train crash, and then Euler proposed his theories. SN diagrams came into picture. It is almost 200 years now since this postulate has been developed. And strain life approach came when? Only in the 1950s time. After around 100 years to 150 years time frame, strain life approach has come out. So now we have a lot of data about SN approach. About strain life approach, lot of the data is, even today it is not available. Though it is available, it is kept confidential with certain organizations. Therefore, using strain life approach is a problem for a general engineer, unless and until their organization, that company, has well established data with them for their particular design. Okay. So understand the physical meaning of this limits what has been put. Not simply if it is 730 use this, if it is greater than 730 use another. No, that way you should not feel. You have to understand why it is that. Okay, why it is that, and can this limit be variable? Definitely this limit be variable. This is based on the experiments of the Manson for simple medium carbon steel on which he has conducted his work. Today you find n number of category of steel, n number of materials, engineering materials, composites people are talking about, and then these concepts may not be applied straightforward. Procedure remains the same. That is why we are dealing with all those theory, calculation, and procedure is same, design procedure. For another material also, you go and experimentally build up such a postulate. You find out the constants and then use the same parameter. That is the advantage of the existing theory. Manson's rule, that is the advantage. But lot of effort is required when we plan for some other material. As far as your theory course is there, we can use this equation. We only want to make you aware about using such theorems. But you go out in the industry after gaining knowledge of this particular topic, these terms. There you need to apply this particular knowledge, not as it is, as suited for that condition. That is important. So that is what you have to understand from this. Okay. Usually for a given steel material, as per Manson, if the number of cycles, total number of cycles or life is greater than 730, then we can go with this particular postulate. If it is less than 730 number of cycles, that means we are applying really high number of stress on the component. With the first cycle, when you apply the load itself, the component, there is some crack, and we have to only look into the crack propagation time. That is the overall idea. Okay. So 2 times we apply this particular rule. How we will identify crack is initiated? Once we will apply this rule for the crack initiation. When the crack initiation period damage becomes 1, now we understand crack is initiated. Then we will apply the same linear rule only for the propagation, crack propagation. Okay, that is why it is known to be double linear, double. That is the why that term comes, double linear damage rule. It is still linear. You can see it is just a cycle ratio. There is no quadratic or exponential term in this particular equation. It is a linear rule, but we apply 2 times. One is by considering the initiation time, and once initiation is there, then same linear rule will apply for the propagation. And this rule has been brought into by Manson, therefore his name, and all together we call Manson double linear damage rule, which is developed based on the Palmgren-Minor hypothesis or Palmgren-Minor simple linear damage rule. Okay. So yeah, concluding remarks, we know already, we have seen this. Let us see later. Okay. Then we have non-linear rule and other things that we will discuss later. Before that, based on this discussion, we will solve some numerical. We'll understand this through the numerical, and then we'll look into further. Make a note of this particular problem. Okay. In this question, you can see the question is to determine the life. Determine the life of the component, N. So just while looking, you want to determine the life of the component. You cannot straightforward jump in to simple or look for Goodman criteria or Baskin criteria. You have to look for the available data. What data you have. Okay. Here by using Minor's rule is mentioned only for this question. But in general, you may not be aware what rule to use. Okay. So as a designer, you might want to determine the life. Now to determine the life, what approach you want to adopt, that is left to the designer. Okay. So question wise, here we have provided by using Minor's rule, but it need not be given this statement. Based on the data what is given, as a designer, you can choose which damage rule you want to go ahead with. Now here we can also choose Manson double linear theory, provided we have corresponding data, or Markov-Starkey theory or any other non-linear theory we can adopt. But we need to have data to use that particular theory. That is the first thing you have to understand before you start the problem, numerical. Okay. So question starts with like work cycle of a mechanical component. What is the component is not mentioned. Some mechanical component, maybe it is a machine components or related to any other tools or any practical design component, some mechanical component. Its work cycle has been mentioned. The component is undergoing completely reverse bending stress, a very important information for you. Don't ignore such words from the statement. Completely reversed bending stress. The moment you find completely reversed word, you will get the understanding you need not use any mean stress correction criteria. You need not use Goodman criteria, Gerber criteria, Soderberg criteria, or Morrow criteria, or any of such mean stress correction theories. That is the advantage of having this word here, completely reversed. If nothing is mentioned, if data is also not provided accordingly, then you assume that it is completely reversed. That is an assumption in that case, but here clearly mentioned it is completely reversed bending stress, and how it is undergoing. How it is undergoing. Plus or minus 350 Newton for 85% of the total life of the component. So component is having some life n, some life n. This is how much? This is what we have to determine. And on this component, to get this total life, out of this n, 85% of the time of the total life, you are applying a load plus or minus 350 Newton or MPa, stress of 350 MPa, Newton per mm square. Okay. Similarly, remaining, you are going to apply plus or minus 400 Newton, 400 Newton of stress. The load which can generate this much of stress. That is the way. So plus or minus 400 MPa of load for 12% of the total life. And finally, we are going to apply a load which can generate 500 MPa of stress for remaining 3% of the total life. This is the working cycle of the component. The component which is designed is taking so and so load for this much percentage of the time. Okay. Then what other data is mentioned to us in the problem? The material of the component is given as steel. That means that other details related to steel need not be given. In this question, it is stated just to avoid you look into the data handbook and obtain the corresponding material, because what category, what is the specification of the steel is not mentioned, whether it is medium carbon or SAE grade, ASI grade, what is the grade, whether it is heat treated, non-heat treated, cold rolled. Now, depending on these properties will vary. All those things have been not stated here for you to look and identify the material for a component. Therefore, straightforward data has been provided. Ultimate strength of the material is given as 660 MPa. Corrected endurance strength. You make a note of this particular word. Corrected. Okay. Corrected endurance strength. The meaning is we need not take here any correction factors. We know that in our previous class where we have solved several problems, we have taken multiple correction factors. Size factor, surface finish factor, load factor, reliability factor, temperature factor. So these factors need not be taken here. It is already mentioned corrected endurance strength. And that has been given to you. Your job has been simplified with this question. Okay. So this information 60 MPa and 200 MPa is only given for you to calculate the Baskin equation properties or stress life approach. That curve, SN curve properties. We can calculate A. You have the formula with you. You can straightforward calculate now. 0.9 SU whole square divided by SE. See, already corrected endurance strength is given. Please make a note. Okay, therefore we have to use SE as a 200. Do not go and use the formula 0.5 SU. 0.5 SU is SE prime, laboratory value. The endurance limit for a laboratory tested specimen. Okay. Do not use this when the data has been given. Already the corrected endurance strength has been given to you. Therefore, use that particular value in the denominator here. Similarly, you have B minus 1/3 log of the corresponding factors. Use that to determine the slope of the SN diagram. And here also wherever SC is there, use the given endurance limit. I am again and again highlighting, when data is given, make use of given data. Do not go for taking any prediction, taking any empirical values. Okay. Use that and determine these two constants. So this is for to obtaining the Baskin equation properties. Okay. So what you know now, you are applying a load of 350 Newton. In this Baskin equation, apply 350 and see if you apply plus or minus 350 Newton MPa alone, this stress alone over the component, then what is the number of cycles to failure? NF. Number of cycles to failure, total number of cycles to failure. Similarly, if you apply 400 Newton alone, substitute in the same equation, determine plus or minus 400 alone, what is the number of cycles for failure if you apply only this load. Similarly, another case plus or minus 500, determine how much is the number of cycles for failure alone. Okay, this becomes your capital N when you take the cycle ratio. it is said that Minor's rule. What is Minor's rule? Summation of Ni by capital Ni, which is less than or equal to 1. Okay, where I can be any number of cycles for various load cases. Okay. So damage is nothing but, in this case, it is N1 by capital N1 by small letter N1 by capital NF1, that is number cycles to failure for one type of load, serial number 1. Similarly, next N1, N2 divided by capital NF2 plus N3 divided by capital NF3. Okay. Now what is N1? N1 is number of cycles applied over the component. So this already is given to you as 85%, that is 0.85 times of N, or 85 by N by 100, either way. This N2 is 0.12 N and N3 is 0.03 N. Given data 85%, 12% and 3%. N is the total life. Let N be the total life. Out of total life, 85% of the time you are applying plus or minus 350. Then remaining time, 12% of the time you are applying the plus or minus 400, and then you are applying the plus or minus 500. That is it. This is the solution for the entire problem. It's a quite simple problem. You have to just interpret in a straightforward manner. Let us look into the solution. Take the Baskin equation. No need to take any of the mean stress correction. Already I have highlighted. It is mentioned completely reversed. So Baskin equation A NF to the power B. You calculate the constants. Given data only you make use of. Do not make use of empirical values wherever data is known. Now in this SN equation, there are three cases: 350 Newton, 400 Newton and 500 Newton. Determine number of cycles to failure. Okay. So the data what you have obtained here is nothing but the SN diagram data. Log of life, SA, alternating stress value, and you have the SN diagram data. So if you apply 350 Newton, this is the 350 Newton, you are going to find the life of 28,645 cycles. When you apply 400 Newton, you are going to find 12,277 cycles. And if you apply 500 Newton, you are going to find 2,980 cycles of life. This you apply only this alone: 350, 400 and 500. Whatever you have here is NF or N3, N2, N1, capital 1. Now what you are doing on the component, 350 Newton cycle is applied 85% of the total life. 85% of the total life of the component, not 85% of N1. Remember, it is not 85% of N1. 85% of the total life. Total life. Okay. Therefore, it is N. 0.85 times of N, 0.12 times of N and 0.03 times of N. Use that and simply go to the linear rule. You are going to find what is the life N. Calculate for N. Okay. This is the solution for the problem. Anybody is having any doubt or any queries, or not followed the solution? Whether the values shown here are correct, there could be calculation mistakes that you verify. I am just explaining the procedure of adopting that. If any values mistakes are there, that you may change. Calculation errors only. Procedure is same. All are getting the same answer, those who are trying, or simply copying from the slide.
So this is slightly different.
Different answer.
Yeah, but very less deviation.
How
Almost.
much? What is the difference? Final life is how much?
Sir, 1 second.
Sir, I got 20195.
Okay. One cycle only, no? That is not a
Yeah.
problem.
And even same, like very minor differences only
That
in
is
the
okay. That is no
individual.
problem. Yeah, that is not a problem. That may be because here initially you might have taken some approximation. Say here 1576. You might have taken only 3 digits or 2 digits. It is recommended to take at least 3. Okay. In any problem, when you solve, at least 3 decimal. At least 3 decimal you take. That will give the better accuracy. Okay. Because you see, this is a negative value. P is a negative value here. And any small variation will also significantly affect. It is power. It is an exponential factor, power, and it is negative. Therefore, small change with this slope can change your curve significantly. This is the slope of the curve, no? Any small change with that slope will significantly change your curve. Either this fashion, what way is the curve? It is defined by the slope. Okay, therefore, it is much better to take more and more higher decimal values here. Okay, and some other approximation here, some approximations when you are using, maybe that will result in minor error. That is not that you have to get exact. Even if you get 20,100 or you get somewhere around 2200, 2250, that is okay. That you will get. That is not an issue here, provided you have used the corresponding parameters appropriately to certain decimal approximation. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let us look into another problem here. The solid circular link made of 4340 heat treated steel. You see, material is given. Okay. The same problem I can rearrange also. If you want to go like MD1 approach, machine design approach, we can just change. We may say that design a solid circular link with suitable material. If I say that, you have to assume a material and you have to take the corresponding material property from the data sheet. This understanding you should have. I assume here in this subject that you know that MD1 related aspect. Therefore, we are not making here things complicated. We are just explaining the concept here. That is why we write here illustration. I'm not writing it as a problem 1, problem 2, like that. It is illustration. We are explaining various concepts, various feasibilities, various possibilities. Adopting which one is left to you, depending on your requirement in the practical scenario. Okay. Various possibilities are there to address a given type of problem, existing problem. Okay. So here the problem is mentioned straightforward with the material so that all of you should get the same answer. That is the reason it is mentioned 4340 heat treated steel. Further, it is not clearly mentioned what type of heat treatment has been carried out because that defines the corresponding length, corresponding microstructure. But it is mentioned as a solid circular link made of some material. We have to mention some material. That is why here it is mentioned 4340 specific category of steel. This is a alloy steel 4340 is subjected to spectrum of axial loads. So make a note of this point. It is not bending load now. It is axial load. And the design member should have 99% of the probability of survival. That means 99% of the component you design should not fail. You have that indication is we have to shift the median life SN diagram, 50% life, median life SN diagram towards further low, because 99% of the component we want to survive, not fail. Okay. And that component, whatever you are designing, is subjected to following type of load. So here stress is not given. In the previous problem, stress is given directly. Here load is given. So this LB indicates pound, indication of pound. 22,000 pound, 12,000 pound and 6,500 pound of load has been applied. How many cycles? Corresponding cycles, that is also mentioned. And moreover, this duty cycle is repeated 3 times during the life of the component or that particular link. So you have to apply the axial load. Axial load 22,000 pound cycle, highest one, 22,000 pound cycles. This you have to apply for how much? This you have to apply for 12,200 cycles. And once you apply 1,200, then you have to apply the next one, that is 12,000 pounds. 12,000 pounds cycles you have to apply for another remaining period. So this you have to apply for 7,000 cycles. And once you have applied for 7,000 cycles, next you have to apply the load of 6,500 pounds. 6,500 pounds for 50,000 cycles. Okay. Altogether, you have to apply for 50,000 cycles. This is the working cycle. A component will undergo this type of load, 50,000 cycles. Okay. Not only this much, there is one more parameter has been mentioned, that this sequence of load is applied 3 times till that bar is there for the total life of the component. Your application demands given particular magnitude of the load must be applied 3 times. Okay, 3 times over the component and in sequence. In sequence, it is not that 1,200 straightforward you apply 3 times and then you go for the next magnitude. You have to apply 1,200 cycles of 22,000 pound load, and then you have to apply 12,000 pounds of 12,000 pound load for 7,000 cycle, and after that you have to apply 6,500 pounds of load for 50,000 cycle. Once this block is completed, again you have to repeat with 22,000 pound load for 1,200 cycle, and like that go on applying. This is the requirement, customer's requirement. You may talk in that way. Customer required or his application demands this type of loading pattern. So as a designer, you do not have freedom to alter this particular load magnitude or to change the number of cycle or to change the sequence of the load applied. This is the demand from the application. Your job is to design the solid circular link, a bar of given material. So material is also, let us say, customer has specified. You may assume in that way. Or the application has been specified. 4340 heat treated steel only you have to use. And what are other requirements? The applied load is axial in nature. Component should survive 99% of the time. Only 1% failure is allowed in your total design. Total number of component what you are supplying. These are the required condition. Okay. Now it is desired to find the cross section required. You have to now suggest to the customer what should be the cross sectional area. You tell him how much cross sectional area component can sustain this particular load. It is mentioned as bar. The cross section of the bar is not mentioned. Therefore, you have the freedom to take square bar, circular bar. That is not a problem. It is not mentioned. No? So as a designer, you decide what cross section you want to go for. Whichever you want, you can select. Here it is asked to determine only the cross sectional area to survive for 99% of the time. And both the theories have been asked here. Use Palmgren-Minor theory as well as the Manson theory. Both have been asked just for the comparison purpose. So Palmgren-Minor theory, you know now, that part I will leave it to you. You can work it out. Manson theory we will discuss. Okay. The entire problem we may not complete today. That's okay, not a problem. Next class we will continue on that. Okay. SN diagram data based on the experimental test results is given in this particular problem. Okay. Take a note of this SN diagram data. Instead of giving SN diagram chart directly, SN diagram values are given in table form. You can draw the SN diagram if you want. Okay. SN diagram if you want, you can draw. Log of life and the stress amplitude SA. For defined stress, if you apply a stress on the component 1,68,000 psi or 168 ksi in terms of ksi value, kilo pound per square inch ksi, or here only written in psi, pound per square inch. So don't look at the number looks too big. Okay, don't get afraid of that number. Pardon? Yes? Any queries? Okay, fine. So SN diagram data have been provided. You can make a note of all this. This chart, if you want, I will provide later also, no problem. Important factor to note is the values given here are the stress amplitude. But what is given in the problem here? Here we have been provided with load. Please remember this. This is load what is given. The SN diagram is plotted stress versus number of cycles. That means to find out when you apply 22,000 pound of load, how much is corresponding stress, and then you can calculate and put it here. So to do that, you need to have for this stress 22,000 divided by cross sectional area. You require cross sectional area. Similarly, you want to find stress value sigma for 12,000 pound load. So 12,000 divided by that area and 6,500 load stress for that particular load, 6,500 by the area. This area is what you have to design and tell to the customer to survive for the given number of cycles. Okay. So find out this particular stress. That means we have to assume the area initially. Assume some area. You assume some cross section, whether square, rectangle or circular or any other shape, because that is not mentioned in the question. Shape is not important here. In this problem, only cross sectional area is asked. For simplicity, you assume as circular only. That becomes quite easy. And assume one diameter D. Some diameter D you have to assume here. So assume circular bar and diameter D. Find out area, circular cross section area. Substitute here into this load. You are going to find some stress value. So match that stress value to the corresponding number of cycles. So you get N value, life, okay, for that particular stress. Then we have to just apply the damage rule. That is the idea here. Okay. So this problem, etc., we'll discuss in the next class. Now we have to conduct a quiz. So Palmgren-Minor rule you can adopt. You can solve this. I am just showing the solution. Already we have discussed the rule. Therefore, you can solve this. For the next class, I want you to come out with the solution with Palmgren-Minor rule that you can try out around. Okay. This is area A. What is assumed? A. This is assumed. Okay. You may not wonder from where this came. Assume cross sectional area to be 0.2 square inch. This is assumed. Some random assumption. Definitely with some understanding. Not random means we cannot take 100 square inch. Why it is assumed? So when you calculate, initially you take 10, no problem. Find out what is the stress value, what is the stress value, and what is the stress value here. If it is stress value is too low, when you divide that with 10 inch, then there is no meaning. The component may not fail at all. Okay, may not fail at all. Your component may survive. But whose design is best? The design which is made for just for the cause. The application demands this type of load pattern to be applied only 3 number of times. Repeated 3 number of times, and after that component is to go to, or component has to be retired from the service. So you have to plan such that your component is going to give you only that much particular life. So, okay. So like that, some assumption with understanding point 2 is taken, and further things we'll discuss on the next class. So when you come to next class, please solve this problem with Palmgren minor rule, not with the double linear Mansion rule. Double linear Mansion rule I'll explain in the next class, crack initiation and crack propagation. Okay, fine. So that's all from my side here today from theory point of view. Okay, I will put the link here. Okay, the link has been posted here. You can open this form and answer the question. I give you 3 plus 1, 4 minutes time. Okay. All of you have got the link. Can someone confirm? Link is
Yes.
taking response, no? Okay.
So can we leave the meeting?
Yeah. Those who want to leave, you can leave. Remember to submit the form in 4 minutes. Or you want 1 minute extra, no problem. 9:57 I posted. By 10:02 you have to submit back. No further extension of time. Please submit in time. Only 2 questions, half mark, 0.5 mark, straightforward answers. Considering you want to calculate, maybe you 9:57 I posted. So 10:02 is the time, 5 minutes altogether, 4 plus 1 instead of 3 plus 1. Okay, no problem. Take that. In a hurry, don't make calculation mistake. I'll give you some time. Fine. Class. Okay, time is over. Anyone is having any problem, any issues? Those who are here, any problem is there? Please let me know if anything is there now. I will open once again if you are not submitted for 1 more minute. Anyone require that? Okay, it seems nobody is having any issues. Fine. If no other doubts, we'll end our today's class. Thank you all for joining for today's session. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.